right, how's everybody doing today? Let's see here. Let me close out my extraneous stuff that I don't need right now. There's quite a bit here. I am in the teams here. Hopefully Comcast and YouTube play nice today, but I'm not holding my breath. We all know how that goes. Last time, there was actually a huge spike in reported outages for Comcast right when the stream was happening. Last week on Wednesday, I believe that was. So let's see, we got some live chat setups. We got Robert here. Yes, I installed the LCD display and have my bed load. I set the outside one, but when I print, it's too close to the bed. You need to use the baby stepping feature. Press your button twice and adjust it, and that's how you dial it in. Your offset is basically a starting point. Most people can print with the offset, but that's what the baby stepping feature is. You press it 2 times on your screen. And luckily, I have a printer right here doing a print. I'll actually show you. It will look slightly different than what's on this printer because this has firmware that we're testing right now. But it's the same idea. So while it's printing, press this twice, and then you'll get an option here on the screen. I can get it in closer. There we go. And you'll see either probe Z offset or baby stepping Z. And you can literally turn this and it'll adjust it. So the newer firmware releases that we're going to be putting out, it's going to be shown as Z offset / baby step. If you have a probe, if you don't have a probe, it'll just be baby step Z. But that's all you need to do. You can just press the button twice, and then you rotate the knob, and that will adjust your baby stepping. So that's all you need to do. So instead of fiddling with springs and stuff, you literally just press that, and you can adjust. So much nicer than having to fiddle with a bunch of springs. Bill Marcy asks, I have the aluminum bed levelers, replace the spring. Do I crank down each one so it comes with a stop and then continue with the easy ABL setup? Yep, just literally take the springs off, put it on. Don't over tighten them, just get them snug. I usually like to put a little drop of Loctite on the nuts and then spin them on. If you don't have Loctite, you can put a tiny little drop of super glue. This printer does not have the solid bed mounts on it because this is my testing machine, so I need to go back and forth between bed leveling with the sensor and no bed leveling. If you look here, if I switch over, you'll see this one still has a ZN stop. So if you have our ABL kit, make sure to take the ZN stop off. But because I use this machine specifically for testing things, I have it so I can put the cable back in here and manually level if I need to, just so I can make sure all the firmware settings work. So, let's see, next question here. Go ahead and post, you guys can post questions in chat, or you can call in and I'll pull you in. With Microsoft Teams, you can call in. There's a conference line number, or you can just use Microsoft Teams on your computer or phone or whatever. But I have that open. I'm keeping an eye on this. But go ahead and post your question in chat. How much candy do we go through in a month? I want to say it's about 60 or 70 pounds. We buy it by the pound, so it's usually about 60 or 70 pounds a month we go through. Any plans to release a video on setting up linear advance with the Easy Board? Well, it's not that complicated, and it's not Easy Board specific. It's just setting up linear advance, but that's why I have all of these. Hang on, there's more. Hang on. There's another one. These are just different test benches. And you can see I have like stock and metal extruder, and then no linear advance, and then there's one, here we go, LA linear advance. So there's not a huge difference. I understand the idea behind linear advance, but in practice it doesn't make that large of a difference. Like I can show you here, because this is one, this was with the Easy Board on this test machine here, so it's not anything fancy, but it just has the metal extruder on it, and that's about it. I haven't even upgraded the PTFE tubing. Oh, come on, camera. Start. There we go. So, okay, I'm going to mix these up. You guys tell me which one has linear advance on and which one doesn't. This printer is, this filament, the diameter's a little off. It's some cheap, I think it's the stuff that came with one of the machines, but it's just some cheap stuff. So there is some under extrusion on these benchies. But, looking at this, can you guys tell which one had linear advance on it and which one did not? It's the same G code. The only difference is linear advance was turned on, and it was turned off on the other. And I did tune it. I did use the Marlin tool to tune it. So you tell me if you can notice it. So I'm going to put these side by side here. You can see there's some under extrusion. But I just gotta bump the flow rate up on my slicer a little bit. So can you tell me which one had linear advance on it and which one didn't? And if anything, the under extrusion will actually exaggerate it a little bit more. Which one had linear advance, which one didn't? Can you guys tell? I think I just gave it away, but there's not a huge difference. There really isn't. So let's see. There we go. So this is no linear advance. This is with linear advance. They look the same. There's some very small feature differences, but it doesn't make that big of a difference. Like you can see it a little bit in the corners. The corners are a little more accurate on the one with linear advance, but it's not a night and day difference. Like you can see the corners, see how they're a little less bulged out? But at the end of the day, not a huge difference. So that's just my opinion. You can use it if you want. One thing I have been working on is this has actually got an 8-bit board in it with our new firmware on it. This is why it's testing. That's why I also have so many benchies here, because I'm just testing the firmware. But it's a neat feature. It works in concept, but in practice, it's not like you're gonna turn it on and be like, oh my god, this looks so much better. I can actually get better accuracy on my retracts and stuff by just changing the tubing. I think like changing your tubing out from the stock stuff to like the tough tubing like we have, or the other ones that are out there that have the tighter internal diameter. I feel like you get a little more noticeable of difference from that versus linear advance, but you know, linear advance is technically a free feature, and I do have linear advance working on the 8-bit boards with the new Marlin 2, but Marlin 2 does use a lot more memory, and I've been working my best to slim it down. But as of right now, with the build I have on here, I am able to get ABL working with linear advance, but not with a BL Touch because of the additional space the menus need. So the BL Touch has all the additional code to deploy and retract the pin. That adds memory usage on. And then there's also LCD options for the BL Touch. And even stripping the LCD options, we're still over the space allocation when you have linear advance on. So as it sits right now, I'm going to be releasing the 8-bit firmware update for like the Creality 8-bit boards at the end of the week once I complete testing. But if you have a BL Touch, you will not be able to use linear advance with a BL Touch on that new firmware because Marlin 2 does take up a little more space, and I haven't been able to slim it down enough. I might revisit it at a later time, but it's a minor annoyance. But you can use the Easy ABL with it because we don't have to have menus and additional code to deploy and retract a probe, like the BL Touch or similar probes like that use. What do you think of the Chiron? I just bought one. It seems okay. I haven't spent enough time with it. I have one here, and it's on my to-do list. There's a lot of other stuff I'm working on, and getting the firmware able to fit on these 1284p boards was a big one. So the fact that this is even running with all this stuff enabled is wild, because I was expecting it to take a lot longer. I think I got about 35 hours into this so far. But yeah, let's see other questions. I'm scrolling down here. So Hang on. Will there be flex plates for SLA printers? It's something we're testing. It's not a huge focus because we don't do a lot with resin, but I do have a sample from our supplier that I'm going to put on our photon and see how well it works. The magnet's really strong. They're thicker, but the only problem with the flex sheets on the resin printers is homing the Z. There's got to be a physical modification to the machine made to account for that extra Z height, meaning you're going to have to print something or put something so it triggers sooner, or move the end stop. And at least on the machines I have here, I don't see a way for me to actually move my end stops. They're kind of set where they are, but that doesn't mean you couldn't print like something to offset it. So, you know, unfortunately, like the FDM printers, you just put the flex plate on, you might re-level your bed and change your Z offset, but that's about it. Whereas the resin printers, though, they're homing with a Z switch, whether it's optical, a lot of them use optical or mechanical, and you need to move that. But I haven't spent enough time on it, but I can see that being a problem where someone gets them and they just throw it on their thing and we're like, oh, my Z will never home because it's just smashing into the thing. It's something that has to be accounted for and documented, because we can't be selling a product that requires the user to have to make a modification to their printer, like move their end stop or print a part, and then they get it and they could potentially damage their machine if it's just shoving it down. But yeah, like I said, I like to test a lot. I saw a lot of these suppliers come out. I think Tiny Machines sells flex plates too. I don't know if they have documentation or not, but there has to be documentation with these because of how those printers work. People are talking about the linear advance. Do you need Arduino flasher software on the 427 mainboard? No, read the directions. There's literally directions on the download page. It tells you what to do to set it up. So read the directions. It's actually documented. Let's see here. How long does your Benchy take to print with your standard testing slicing parameters? I want to say it's just over an hour. This one I have the feed rate set at 150%, and I'm definitely hitting some limits that I've set with acceleration and jerk and whatnot. But we're about a little halfway done. It's 40 minutes in. So, but once it gets to the top, it speeds up because it doesn't have as much to print. Okay, TM3D has a printed part for that. Tor says that's who Blazeby 3DRC is. That's Tor. Because I know he picked them up. They're well documented for the resin flex plates. Good, good. Yeah, I haven't paid too much attention to them. I just know that they exist, and we had people asking for them. Brian Baker says for Elgo Mars it has vertical play on the ball joint, so it works fine. Good. Wayne, Unified 2 427 LCD screen keeps showing weird crap into the print. Any ideas? I'm not sure. You should contact Creality for their board. We don't sell that board or support it. I haven't had that issue on mine, so maybe you have a bad screen, maybe you have a bad board. But I had that 427 board in this printer doing many days of prints and never had that issue. So I would suspect that's an issue with either your board or your LCD. Let's see here. Wouldn't you loosen the adjustment for leveling? I'm not sure what you mean. Let's see. TM3 is well documented. Any save I before you said 7 minutes since I returned my Excel settings. Yeah, so I mean, you can uncap your acceleration and jerk settings and get your printer to move, but your quality is going to go down a lot. One thing I did want to show, because I'm actually quite happy that I was able to get this working. So a lot of people, you know, you have all your menu items on your screen. So this is an 8-bit board. ABL's on. One thing I did do, because it was kind of redundant, it was confusing and just also took up space needlessly, is if you notice there's no tune menu on here, okay? There's no tune menu at all. So I moved the flow over here and I was just playing with it to make sure to actually adjust it after I moved the menu item. The tune menu had all these settings, your nozzle, your bed, your fan speed in them, as well as the probe Z offset and the flow rate and the feed rate, okay? So feed rate, we can just turn the knob here on the LCD, and that's what this is. This is your feed rate. And if we want a baby step, we just press the button twice. Okay, so those are gone. So it's like, okay, well, the only menu item we don't have that's accessible elsewhere is flow, so I just have it on the main screen here. I don't think too many people mess with this. I'm just messing with it just to make sure it works, and it does. But one of the things we have here is under advanced, this is still a testing build. See how this is blank? I gotta put some rules in here because I can also further slim this down. But I'm also thinking about just getting rid of this advanced settings menu altogether and just having everything in configuration. So you can see here I've cleaned up this menu quite a bit. We have an EEPROM reset right from here, and it's not initialized anymore. It's reset, so it's clear. You also have access to your baby stepping and your offset from here. And then if I wasn't printing, so let me just stop this print here. That's another thing I could save space on if I didn't have a confirm menu, but we're doing pretty good on space, even on these older boards. So now we got motion back since we're not printing, but we've got the move access, we've got auto home, the M48 probe test. Notice there's no individual axes menu. This is a space saving measure we do on the 1284s, but you still have all your moves and stuff. But if I go to configuration now that we're not printing, you'll see we have steps per millimeter adjustment, even on the 1284p board. So I had enough memory to actually put this in. And what I'm thinking about doing is putting these menu items, okay, just in configuration instead of having them. God, these spam callers, man. Instead of having them under a submenu. I don't know why they put them under a submenu, but if I got rid of this advanced menu and rolled everything into the configuration menu, that would save about 160 bytes of space. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but on these boards where we're playing with only 128K of memory, every little bit counts. 100 here, 100 there, 200 here, 300 there. It adds up, and that means we can bring more features back. And we also had actually enough space here where this has got ABL on it, and we still have the boot screen. So I do unfortunately have to disable the boot screen to fit linear advance on here. But like even with disabling the boot screen with the BL Touch and linear advance, there's still not enough space. We're overflown by about 384 bytes of space. So that's why every little bit counts, and I'm still working at this. But we've got a lot of different settings here. Like let me clear the bed off here. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be selling these. This is like a sample from one of our suppliers. It's a flex plate, and it's got like this coating on here, but it doesn't hold on very well. I might actually go to the floppy penis one. So, whatever. But check out the M48 test. So if I do the probe test now, well, home. Oh, hey, look at my Phantom on this brand new Ender 3 is already starting to go out. This thing. There we go. I also found out how much these fans cost because I got a Creality part list. At 100 pieces, I can get these fans for 74 cents a piece. So, but there you go. So you can see the probe test runs. That got really good, actually. 0.000995. That's not bad at all. So that's what I've been working on. Let me check chat here. I just realized I've been talking about this printer and firmware for the last couple minutes. My apologies. Wayne, that's not our board, so you would have to do the work on your own there. I don't sell or recommend those 427 boards. So, but I am looking at the pictures. I would probably say it's either the board or the screen. Again, I don't sell those boards, and I haven't encountered that, but usually when you get those, like, weird characters, it's something bad. Like with the LCD or the cable, so At least that's been my experience. Why is our robot thing alerting us? Our website? I think Uptime Robot's messing up. Oh wait. Maybe it's not. We're getting a bad gateway. What the hell? So okay, Uptime Robot. Oh, that's what was calling me. That was our monitoring system calling me to let us know the website went down. What the hell? Oh, maintenance in progress. Really? Are you fucking kidding me? They're in the middle of the day? Are you shitting me? I don't think there's anything confidential on here. Why are you guys doing maintenance on your shit at 2:20 during the day? Yeah, I can share this here. Yep, maintenance in progress. What the fuck? Why? What the hell? Let's see, site performance. Let me check the chat. I'm gonna complain. Like, why are they taking our shit down and during the middle of the day? All right, let's go back through here. Can you do a video on how to tune Excel jerk settings? You don't need to change them from whatever the factory settings are. It's more of a preference thing. If you set them too high and you print too fast, then you lose steps, so just turn them down. But in general, we just use whatever the recommended ones. If you want safe settings, 5 and 5 for X and Y, 0.3 for E, and Z, I want to say I run 7 usually. But it's more of a setting you just play with and see how your prints come out, how you like them. It's a personal preference. Some people like running higher acceleration so they can print faster. Other people's like lower so they get better print quality. That's all a preference thing. Whereas linear advance is, this is the best line because it's the most even. Acceleration and jerk is more user preference. So, what arm are you using for your overhead camera? I would not recommend this at all. Not at all. This is a Logitech Brio. This thing is... You want to see why I don't recommend it? Look at... See how it's not focusing on my hand? Even though it's right in front of it? I have to like... There we go. Finally focused. And then look at that. Oh, we're still out of focus. Logitech doesn't know. Come on. Yeah, see this? See this shit? Do you want to be dealing with this on a stream? Because I don't. Now it's stuck. The autofocus is terrible. The one I do recommend is this, which is the Sony A6000, because look at that. Autofocus actually works. Look at that. It's amazing. Is this still out of focus? It's still out of focus. Still. We are still out of focus. There we go. Don't buy the Logitech Brio. It's a terrible camera. The camera works. The image quality is nice, but the autofocus is terrible, and it will drive you insane. Absolutely insane. This is also an A6000. I have 2 of these, and these are about $400 to $500. Plus, you're going to be in another $100 for a capture card. So about $500 to $600 for that and the card, and then add on another, I don't know, 20 for the cable. So what? I like them. They're worth it. I want to get rid of this Brio here. Even though I don't use this camera that often, I am using it more these days, and it frustrates the living hell out of me. Hang on. I'm telling them that, hey, people use our website during the day. All right, let's see. Yeah, garble screen. Do I use Octoprint? Absolutely. We have a Pi on all of our production machines. This is not a production machine. This is a testing machine. All of our production machines have a Pi and Octoprint. Modified 3D says less menus the better. Yes. If you noticed on this with the 8-bit board, there's no acceleration or jerk settings in the LCD. You can still adjust them by sending G-code commands. But to save on space, because like I said, most people don't touch those. I don't even touch them once they're in the firmware. I just use whatever's in the firmware. Those menus are gone. But the one thing people do mess with is steps per millimeter. It's usually on their extruder. So that's why I wanted to bring the steps per millimeter back. Let me check up on chat here. What are the difference between the sizes? The size. They both perform the same. And the pros, the electronics are the same. The only technical difference is the 12 millimeters have an up to 5 millimeter sensing range, and the 18s are up to about 10. And the only reason there's that difference is because the physical diameter of the probe, the plate in the tip is smaller on the 12, so it has a lower detection distance. But if you follow the calibration guide, we cover the optimal distance for each of those. But other than that, they're functionally identical. Let's see here. Yeah, website maintenance. Your cigar fridge is lit up well. Let's see here. Yeah, it is. I put some LEDs in there. Let me see if they're still showing maintenance. Of course, they got to take down. Like, maybe I just. Why are you guys doing maintenance, Kinsler? Come on. Brian Baker. Oh yeah, the Brio is trash. Are you using a standard mic boom? I am using the Rode PSA ones on these, and this is a Yeti. I think it's like the Blackout Edition or something. Aaron, I will take that A6000 off your hands because I want to get rid of this Brio. I hate this Brio so much. And these are just using the kit lenses. I actually didn't turn my fill light on today. I might not need it, but whatever. There you go. Lights up my head a little better. Let's see. Surprised no one's jumped in. If you look at the bottom here, there's a link to call in and a link to the Teams conference. I believe those are correct. Those should have been the same. Let me double check here. But if they took our site down, just realized that 214-291-979 is the meeting, and the call number is 872-240-4647. Okay, yeah, that's correct. And the Teams meeting is still good. So we should be, yeah, we're good. I'm just checking it here on my end. Yep. So all those are valid. So if you go to askhim.th3dstudio.com, no, the website's back up now. It's back up. I wonder if they finished their maintenance or if they brought it back up because I told them they can't be taking our stuff down. A6, the camera, A6000, Sony A6000. I don't know if there's a better one out, but when I was doing my research, that was like the best bang for your buck for a 1080p 60 frame a second camera. Can you change your probe points grid for auto bed leveling with editing and recompiling the firmware? As far as I know, there's not. As far as I know, that's not the case. They do have it so you can set your probe offsets, but I really don't like that because what happens is now the probe offsets are an EEPROM, so if people don't remember to clear their EEPROM, then it kills it. I could be wrong. Marlin's been changing a lot of stuff. They might have, let me see, G-code, let's see, all documents. I don't know if they did. I'm checking. I'm assuming it would be, I know there was talk about it, but I don't know if they added that in. I thought there might have been. Let me see here. That's Z, M420. No, it's not in there. G29 for bilinear bed leveling. Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at here. Let me put, I think if I put do not disturb on it, won't pop up any of the messages. Someone, one of you guys, Torp, message the support team. I want to see if that pops up while I'm in do not disturb mode. Oh god, why is my brother printer trying to update? Let's see here. Nope, it did not pop up. Cool. Okay. Oh god, hang on. Go back to the call screen. All right. Let's pull this up. Okay. Exit Discord here. Okay, so these are our parameters we have for G29 while using bilinear, which is what we use. Set the front limit of the probing grid, so you can do that. Set the left limit. The verbose level, write a mesh. Specify X setting. Surprisingly, even though they have the left limit and the front, left, right, assuming they have rear or back. Yeah, back. So they have all those options. But it doesn't look like they have the there's Z offset, specify new value. Yeah, no, they don't. Doesn't look like it. Let's see if there's anything in the standard G29. No, it just links out to these. Yeah. So there's that. Sock puppet farm incoming. Oh, somebody's up on the current Looney Bin events. Oh boy. Just waiting for the farm to attack our channel. Yeah, I don't think there is. You're just gonna have to change it. I don't understand why people mess with their settings so often. I rarely ever change any of that stuff. I set it up and I use the machine. You guys need to stop playing with your firmware settings so often. It's probably why your stuff breaks. Apparently Brothers is bad with Microsoft, and they're like, nope, we're just gonna update your printer firmware right now. Just whatever. So while we're talking about people messing with firmware, Brothers like, yo, bro, your 2D printer needs some love. All right. No one is in Teams yet, so let me talk about what stuff I've been working on here. So, and we can also talk about 8-bit boards with 8-bit boards with VS Code, because it's a lot different. Also, actually, I'm going to show you guys something really interesting and why you should not. Why you have to be cautious, I should say, when you're using like the Creality stock boards or even the Big Tree Tech boards, because they all do this. So the Creality V11X board, so 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, and the SKR E3, the 1.0, 1.2, and the 2.0, they all do that USB port backfeeding thing. Meaning I get voltage coming through the USB port from the printer power supply. So I have this little device here that tells me how much amperage this is drawing through here, going this direction. I can't see it feeding back. This doesn't support that. But I also have a voltage readout. So let me show you what happens here. So I plug this in, okay, and you're going to see the screen restart on the printer because I plugged the USB in. Usually, there it goes. And that's normal on some boards. The 8-bit boards do it. It's just because it's reestablishing it. So now, if you see here, now watch my Logitech camera not autofocus correctly. So if you see here, we got 0 amps of draw, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and let's preheat, okay? So you see there's still no current being drawn. Okay? And you see it's heating my hot end in my bed. Now let's say I accidentally mess up and I turn my power supply off. It's pulling 0.84 amps through this. The bed heaters, the board is still on. It's just very faint because it's trying to power. It's trying to power the heaters through here. So I'm on cooldown right now. I press this. Look at that. The LCD comes back and our current draw goes from 0.85 or whatever it was. It was 0.8 something to 0.05. Now watch. If I go ahead and hit temperature and let's tell my nozzle to heat. Look at that. Now it's pulling 0.25 amps. So, and you see the LCD got dimmer. Let's go ahead and tell the bed to heat. Oh, look at that, 0.84. So this is plugged into a USB hub that actually is powered. So this is actually able to supply a decent amount of current. The problem is, if you plug this into a computer, you run the risk of overdrawing your USB port, and you could possibly damage your USB port. So think about if your USB port on your motherboard, okay, or your laptop gets fried. That's not something simple to fix. And if they had properly isolated the 5-volt line on the USB port and the 5-volt regulator, this wouldn't be an issue. Our Easy board doesn't do this. The original Creality boards don't do this. Like, we're talking like 2-3-year-old boards. The old ones, if you guys remember, if you've been around long enough, the original CR10s that had the Melzi boards in them had a jumper for the VREG and the USB because they had physical isolation of those two rails. They don't have that on the new ones. We have that on our board, and that's what should be done because you run the risk of overdrawing a port. Now, luckily, like I said, if I'm actually afraid to do that same test I showed you, having that cable plugged into my motherboard, because I don't want to damage my motherboard. I have this plugged into a USB hub, and I can replace the USB hub if it blows it out. And a couple of times when I did that, it actually reset the whole hub. So the whole hub crashed and reset. So yeah, the Decapitat days. Cat.g code, if you guys remember that. So if you have your printer plugged in, this even goes for the Raspberry Pis. Imagine if you turned it off and you had a Raspberry Pi, it's going to make that, it's going to try to pull that current through the USB port on the Pi, and the Pi is just going to sag, and it'll probably reboot, which will hopefully then shut off the board. But that's not correct. It shouldn't be doing that. That's what I'm getting at here. It should not be pulling heater power through the USB cable. Are you? Yeah, ask questions. Any updates on the Easy Plug? I'm finalizing the firmware. They're right here. They're still here. I've been playing with the firmware for those and these. I'm just being very anal about them because if I send them firmware and I have them made, and I later find out there's a bug in the firmware I send the factory to flash all these plugs, we're going to have to manually reflash all of them here, which is going to be a huge pain in the ass. So, yeah, that's gonna be rough. Do I recommend seasoning the Micro Swiss all metal hot end? I recommend just using on any all metal hot end. Ours, Micro Swiss, E3Ds. Go ahead and run an oiler. Canola oil has been my go-to, and an oiler is just a little thing you print. You put a little sponge in there. You put a little bit of canola oil on there and snap on the filament, and that'll oil the filament. And if you guys ever use cast iron, to cook in. You know it gets non-stick the more you use it and properly take care of it. As it gets a little buildup on there, you kind of want to do the same thing with an all-metal hot end. It'll help resist PLA sticking inside the heat break portion. I'm being told to check our okay, I'll look at that later. Let's see here. Have I seen the oil come out the tip? When I over-oiled it, yes, but normally no. I bought Easy Board for the CR10S. Will that same board work for the Ender 5? My concern is voltage. Oh, you're asking if you put the 10S board in the 5. It depends. It depends on what board your 10S came with. The early Creality boards, and I have some of them. Let me grab them. Okay, so we were talking about the older boards actually being better designed than the new ones, and with regards to the 5-volt backfeeding issue. So this is one of the original CR10 boards, okay? You notice it has the jumper here. This did not have that backfeeding issue, okay? But even though this board will work with an Ender 3, you can't use it, okay? And the reason you can't use it, if you look, is the rating on the caps. Okay, you see how this says 220/16? These are all 16-volt caps. So if I put this in an Ender 3, while the drivers and the CPU and even the voltage regulator are rated up to 24, because they use 16-volt caps, if I put this in an Ender 3, it'll blow all these caps out. So you can't use the real old boards in the 24-volt machines. I don't think I have one of the newer ones out of a printer. I think it's the one I have that works is in this printer that I've been testing with. But you can see on, like, just for an example, like on the newer-ish ANET boards, you can see that they've switched the caps out to 35-volt rated ones. So they can use these in a 12-volt machine and a 24-volt, because you can have higher voltage ratings and only be using it at 12. You can't do it the other way around because you'll blow the caps out. Saving you're a bit late to the chat. That's what's sitting on this printer over here. And we also posted an update. Oh, you bought the Easy Board. Yeah, the Easy Board works on 12 and 24. No issues there. It works on both. It's been tested on both and works on both. Yeah, to answer your question, Steven. I was like saying Steven, like the memes, the dank memes. Here we go. So this is an 8-bit board with our Marlin 2 on it. There we go. And you'll hear how loud it is. Oh, wait. There we go. Yeah, it'll be coming out soon. My goal is to have this out by the end of the week. I'm just running more testing on there. When will the smooth Easy Flex plate be back in stock? We have them. They're being processed, so it could be a day or two. It could basically, the team's been told by the end of the week. All those plates have to be processed and stocked by the end of the week. So by the end of the week, any plates and magnets that are out of stock will be back in stock because we have literally every size sitting out there right now. The 115 still has the backfeeding issue. So if you rewind the stream and I show what happens when you turn your power supply off when you're heated, don't do that. One way you could get around that too, I totally forgot about this. We actually have the power blockers here. I totally forgot about this because this would prevent it from shorting your board out. The power blockers, so they're sold as a solution to the Raspberry Pis, backfeed, the Raspberry Pis keeping the LCD on. But this would work even on a computer. This is a little device that's just a PCB with 2 plugs, and this severs the 5-volt line. So this then wouldn't be able to draw the power out. So you guys can actually use these for those of you guys that have these boards you're plugging into a computer. This is a very simple solution to fix that problem here. So people usually use them with the Raspberry Pis to keep the LCDs off when the printer's off. But this would also prevent the printer from being able to pull excessive amounts of current through your USB port. Totally forgot about those. Let's see here. Can you migrate the CR10S from 12 to 24 volt? You can migrate any printer at any voltage, just how much work are you going to put into it? Would I do it? I wouldn't, because you're going to have to replace, think about all the stuff that draws current, okay? You have to replace the bed, so the whole bed, you're either a new bed or a new heating pad, all your fans, your heating elements in the hot end, and anything else that pulls power directly from the printer power supply. So that's usually your fans and your heaters. And that's assuming that you have a board that can run on 12 and 24, so you need to check to make sure your board is. I personally wouldn't put the time into it. My CR10 is still running on 12 volts. It's, in my opinion, it's not worth the time to switch it over to 24 to get what, slightly faster heating times. I would much rather, and that's just heating times on the bed. The hot end's not going to make a difference. You're not going to see any difference on the hot end going to 24. Yeah, that's just it. Let's see here. So, I already answered the question about the plates. I gotta check Teams. I think it usually bings in my ear. Yeah, I haven't heard anything. You missed the Easy Mat blue version. Well, we got the black ones out, and they work. It's the same mat, just a different design. Same 3M adhesive on there that comes off relatively clean, and still the same holding power. I like the black look better. It's cleaner. Our branding isn't in your face as much. It's like a tiny little, it's just little text in the bottom right hand corner. Let's see, Jake. Sheldon Dark, have you run into Cura 4.7 micro line segment bug? I haven't, because I don't use Cura. I only use Simplify 3D. There's really no machine specific slicer, but here we use Simplify 3D 100% of the time. We went over that. Just bought a TiVo Tornado. Should I keep it and mod it, or find a CR10 and sell the Tornado? The Tornado is okay. If you already have it, I'd probably keep it and mod it. We have one here, and it's upgraded. And I think right now it's down because the wheels wore out. Like, we used it so much, the bed wheels wore out. And I just haven't had time to replace it. And we have so many machines, if a couple are down, it's not the end of the world. Kyle Fegley, wondering what's the best Octopi plugin to monitor your prints while at work? There's one called Octoprint Anywhere. I don't know if it's still in development. But I actually talked to the developer for a while. Yeah, it looks like it's still around here. I think it's getanywhere.io. So you can actually just set up Octoprint, and it's a plugin, and it just bounces it off like they have an AWS instance. So you don't have to do any port forwarding, which I'm a big fan of not doing port forwarding. And I think, I know it's, yeah, so it's, yeah, so it, one printer's free, and then, I mean, this is not that bad. Unlimited for 10. That's what I would do. Any plans on print tunning, what? I don't know what that means, David. Aaron, I don't know what you're saying at all. All right, sorry. Did you happen to order a King or KP3S? I did! Huzzah! Here is. Said I was going to buy it. I did. I bought it with my own money. This is not a refute unit. This is a new one. So yes, I have it. I also have a Sunlu S8 here, and an Anycubic i3 Mega X, and an A9 resin printer. So I think either Tuesday or Thursday, I'm going to be doing some sort of printer unboxing, because I have some here that need to get unboxed and done. Rob Max says maybe AC bed upgrade. Otherwise, a bunch of money and work. Yeah, I think if you want your bed to heat up quicker, because that's usually what people like about 24-volt printers, is their beds heat faster than 12s. I would just do an AC bed at that point and call it a day. Even though I'm not a huge fan of AC beds, they do heat up quick. And spend the money and get a actual what's the name of the company? Begins with a K. Kinovo. Kinovo is the one to go with. There's a lot of knockoffs out there, and I've seen some pretty fantastic pictures of them, the knockoffs failing, where the actual wires, the resistant wires, burned up and burned a hole in the bottom of the bed. So that's great. And the Marlin 2.0 firmware, do you have an option for the Ender 5 Plus new lead screws? No, that's for the Ender 5, not the 5 Plus. The Ender 5 Plus has always had the 800 step per millimeter lead screws, and if there's an option, I can pull up the firmware. Hope you're not making me chase my tail here, because you read something wrong. No, there's no 5 Plus support in any firmware for the 2 other than our Easy board. Yeah, Ender 5 and Ender 5 Pro. Yeah, no, you just made me chase my tail there for a second. Don't do that. But if you do have an Ender 5 or a 5 Pro, and you update our firmware and find that your Z-axis, when you tell it to move 10, only moves 5, then you have the newer lead screw that requires double steps per millimeter. There's an option in the firmware to you uncomment that, reflash it, and then it'll double your steps per millimeter. The Sirius X9 Meyer Corrali dropped the ball. What have you been hearing? I mean, I've seen enough with that printer where I'm not comfortable letting it run unattended, which means it's not getting used right now. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sketched out to use it. I'm worried about that board going up. The switch is a relatively easy fix, but the board popping, I don't think it would end up resulting in like an actual like fire outside of, you know, it going up inside the control box, because luckily the control box is metal. It still sketches me out. And what sucks is they use their own proprietary board. They made a board for that machine, so it's not like you can throw in it's not like I can go and throw an Easy board in it, you know, or another board, or even a third-party one. Because if I want to put like an MKS in there, I have to re-cable everything, and they got the proprietary connectors too. So it's not like there's just wires that go in for the hot end and the stepper motors. They have those ribbon cable plugs, which means you have to figure out all the pinouts. It's a pain in the ass. I'm gonna check here. Did my guy that did the code mess something up here? Because in the actual firmware source code, it doesn't have that. Ender 5 shows a new lead screw. He has it showing up for the 5 Plus too. It should not be showing up for the 5 Plus, because the 5 always has, or the 5 Plus always has the double steps per millimeter. So I'm going to shoot him a message right now, because that should not be showing up on here. You can just ignore that. We did just do a bunch of updates, so it's possible it got broken during an update. Let's see here. I'll make a note here, changes. And posted. Yeah, just ignore that. It'll automatically set it to the correct steps. That's a programming glitch on the site. Because if we look at the actual source code here, main monitor. So like this is the config file. If you look here, we have our machine, you know, your what board you have, and that option right here. If you have the Ender 5 or 5 Pro model, which it does say this, it's only for the 5. The 5 Plus is automatically going to get set to the correct steps per millimeter, and in the case of the Easy board, it actually sets the step rate in half on Z. So it goes from 1/16 stepping to 1/8, which means the steps per millimeter actually stay the same because we're doing half the step rate, but it's on Z, so it literally doesn't matter. And then we get more torque too. And because the drivers are connected in UART mode, we can change the stepping mode for the driver because there's communication between the driver and the processor. So, but yeah, he's talking about this here. So if you actually select the Ender 5, like you can select this option here. But the 5 Plus, this shouldn't even be shown. But if you enable this, it's not going to screw up anything. So either this or this, it's going to work either way. That's probably why no one's mentioned it, because it doesn't screw anything up. And if I look at the source code, I can actually show you here. Firmware, Marlin. Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, I need to go on Marlin, and then configuration advanced. If you look here, if it's defined, okay, it sets the Z microsteps to 8, and if it's not, it sets it to 16. And if we also look at the board configuration files here, so if I look at the config H for the Easy board, you'll see right here for the Ender 5 Plus, it actually is defining the Ender 5 new lead screw by default. So whether you put that in there or not through the Easy config, it's adding it in because that printer has a 2-start lead screw instead of a 4-start. So TLDR, it doesn't matter if you check it or uncheck it, it's going to automatically set the correct settings regardless for the 5 Plus. The Ender 5s are the only ones that have where some shipped with the 4 starts and some shipped with the 2 starts. So, or was it 1 start? No, I think it's 4 start. 4 start versus yeah. But either way, it's all handled, and regardless of what you select, it's going to set it to the same exact steps per millimeter. So even though there's that bug, it's not going to break anything. I wouldn't call it a bug, it's just more it got mislabeled. I don't know why he put it on there. But I sent them a message, it'll get fixed in the next day or two here. But it's not going to affect the compile at all. Have you seen E-steps change unexpectedly? Your E-steps will not change. Something else is going on with your machine. Either it could be a cabling issue, it could be your stepper motor going out, it could be an issue with your board. I wouldn't be able to tell without seeing it. But your E-steps are not going to change overnight. It's a static value. So if your E-steps are changing, then there's something wrong with your printer that needs to be fixed. And without seeing the printer, I couldn't tell you, but the bottom line is your E-steps are not going to just randomly change overnight. So, what are you doing, dog? Yeah, it doesn't matter what board you have. Something's going on. And if you're calibrating your E-steps, then you need to... Dog, stop. Go lay down. When you calibrate your E-steps, you need to do it in open air, meaning you can't be pushing filament into the hot end. Because if you get a backup, then it's going to skew it because the extruder is going to slip. So it could either be that the extruder needs to be tightened up, maybe something loosened up, maybe the tension's not high enough. it's going to be something either electrically, meaning like the connection. More than likely, it could be an issue with the connection at either end going to from the board to the stepper, or it could be a physical issue, meaning it's not getting enough bite on the filament, or something came loose. Again, couldn't tell you without seeing. I'm all just speculating on what I would be looking at if I had a machine in front of me that the E-steps were changing. I mean, how are you establishing that they're changing? Like on the firmware side, if you're talking about it's changing it on the screen, then I would recommend resetting the EEPROM and updating the firmware, or updating the firmware and resetting the EEPROM. But if you're talking about you noticed it was off and then you remeasured it and came up with 323, then that would indicate there's something physically going on with the machine. So every time I've installed our tough extruder, every single time, it's always been 463 steps per millimeter. Every time. Every single time. I'm within a couple steps, so I just set it to 463. Every time. I don't even calibrate it. I just know that if I'm running a 1/16 stepper driver with our extruder, it's always 463 steps per millimeter. So, and one thing that a lot of people don't mention when they're talking about calibrating their E-steps is you can change your E-steps, okay? But if you get them close enough on the firmware, you can actually just change your flow rate in your slicing profile instead of messing with your firmware all the time. Do you guys follow me? So if you get your E-steps close enough in the firmware where they're pretty good, it's easier just to mess with your slicer settings than constantly going in and messing with your firmware settings. No, if David, if you're, or not David, I don't know why I called you David. I don't know your first name. It's just D. No, wrong firmware config is not going to do that unless you set something up. I mean, wrong firmware config can script a lot of stuff. I don't have enough information to give you an answer here. But if what you're seeing in the screen is not changing, meaning if you set it to 423 and it's instead 423, but then you're getting under extrusion, that would tell me there's something physically wrong with your machine that's preventing it from extruding correctly. It could be wiring, it could be something physical with the extruder. You're going to have to look at your printer and fix whatever's going on. I was talking about, I was talking about the slicer settings. So this is what I do, and I was always taught that when we do slicer setup, you play with your extrusion multiplier. And it might be called something different in other slicers, but in Simplified 3D, it's called your extrusion multiplier. So you have your extrusion multiplier here, and you can see for different machines, I have different extrusion multipliers. So typically, I was always told that for PLA, you use a extrusion multiplier 0.9, typically, and for ABS, you use 1. So if we look here, I've got my AM8, which is only prints ABS, and you can see my extrusion multiplier is 1. My Ender 3, which I usually only do PLA with, is at a 0.9. Okay, so if I switch to ABS here, because I do have an ABS profile, you see it switches to 1. So you could also achieve the same thing as changing this by changing your E-steps, but I don't like screwing with my E-steps all the time. I rarely ever have to change this. I can't remember the last time I changed this or my E-steps. I know for reality stock extruders, I run 95 steps per millimeter. On the Tough extruder or the E3 Titans, because they're the same design, 463, and this is on a 1/16 stepper driver. So if you go to a 1/32, you double that. Or if you have a 0.9 degree stepper versus a 1.8, you double that. But I've never messed with it. People get so hung up on spending hours and hours like measuring their filament. Like, just set it and play with your extrusion multiplier. Stop messing around with your firmware settings. People get hung up on the stupidest thing, and what they end up going down this rabbit hole of tuning and tweaking all these settings until they mess everything up, and then their printer doesn't even work. Like, try not to overthink it. Does Simplified 3D not support the CR6? It's just G-code. Simplified 3D works with any printer that takes G-code, and the CR6 takes standard G-code. Brian Baker says, the only times E-steps aren't proper for me is when I flash onto STM32 boards, screw up the trinamic registers. If you hit re-enip EEPROM after flashing, it works. Yes, this is why I say always reset your EEPROM on your printer. If you're having weird behavior where even the settings on the settings on the screen look okay, reset your EEPROM. The EEPROM can have little settings that linger, especially if you flash from one version of Marlin to the next. Or even I've seen it from the same version where you just change settings. There's little things that can linger in EEPROM that you're not able to see, but they screw with things. So if you're having weird behavior with your printer, reset the EEPROM. Because there could just be something lingering that's screwing with how the printer is operating. And it's not going to be something you're going to be able to really diagnose or pinpoint. Just reset the EEPROM. You know, if you guys have ever had a computer where you're like, man, this thing just run like garbage, but all the hardware seems fine, and you reinstall your operating system, and it just works again. Why? You don't know, but it does. The EEPROM's kind of the same thing. It's like wiping out your hard drive on your computer. That's just my experience and tips here. Let's see here. Yeah, Robbie, you get way too involved with your printer's flow rate settings. Do you realize that I literally don't mess with those settings? I use the same stuff and my prints come out fine. I also have like 30-something printers that run all the time. We probably have more than that at this point. I stopped counting, but I know we have at least 50 machines. They're not all hooked up, but at a certain point, you get everything running well enough and you just let it ride. EEPROM is not a cache. It's actually memory that can be written to and read from. It's not a cache, meaning if you shut it off, it retains those settings. So if you don't reset your EEPROM, then you could have lingering issues from previous settings or flashes. And all you need to do, now this will be in a different, like this has got our new menu structure on here, so it'll be slightly different from what you're used to seeing. But all I mean by reset your EEPROM is you go here, okay? Now on the older versions of the firmware, the reset EEPROM will be under advanced settings and it might be called initialize, okay? So, but let's say you're on a different version or you're on regular Marlin, you go to advanced, you'll see initialize EEPROM, okay? But I've moved it around so it's easier. So pretend this says initialize EEPROM, or if you're on the later version of our firmware, it'll say reset. You click this, go to reset, and if you have a beeper, now this screen has a beeper, but I'm using it for the filament sensor. You'll hear a confirmation beep. You'll also get on the screen settings stored. So what that means is, and I'll show you here. So let me go configuration, advanced steps. So let me just screw up some of my steps per millimeter. Okay, so let's say I just messed this up. Okay, so we're reading 245.6, and I shut the printer off. Okay, I didn't store my settings. So I shut the printer off, turn it back on. I'm going to go back into configuration. I think I'm going to get rid of this advanced menu. This is kind of tedious. See, it's back at 95. Now, if I do this, okay, I back out, and now I do store settings. Okay, now if you had a speaker, you'd hear the beep, but it'll also give you on the screen settings stored. Okay, now if I shut this off and turn it back on, you'll see that that change I made is stored in the EEPROM. Okay, you can also change these values in the firmware, which is what I usually do. But if you look here, we're at 158.7, whereas the firmware default is 95. So if I'm like, I screwed up all my settings, I want to go back to the defaults, just reset it. Or like I said, initialize it if you're on a different firmware version. So if I go to advanced settings, we'll see we're back at 95. So reset or initialize EEPROM goes. No, the stream's still up. I'm seeing it. Hang on. I'm actually not seeing any drop frames, so you guys might. Am I being trolled? Because I see it here. Hang on. Let me see. YouTube Studio. Yeah, I think you guys are being trolled, or YouTube's trolling. Where did we yeah, we're still live. No, I'm showing zero drop frames at all. Zero. Did you guys see me going through the EEPROM settings? Do I need to go through that again? And showing you how that all works? Did you guys see that? Did that come through correctly? Showing how the EEPROM works and why you Yeah, it's definitely YouTube, because I actually have zero drop frames from this. Okay, so you guys got that. Good. Okay, cool. So that's why you need to reset your email. So if you're having weird issues, go and reset it. Like I said, I say reset. They like to use the word initialize because it sounds fancier. But it's all the same thing. Reset and initialize are the same thing in Marlin. If you're using our firmware, I like making it a little more user friendly. So like reset EEPROM, this actually used to be in advanced settings, and I'm going to be moving these out. Now if you look here, this menu is blank. This is another thing, is like, so I don't have, normally under filament you would have your load and unload settings for the change filament. Because we don't have the space on this board, those menu items take up a decent amount of space. I've stripped them out, and people don't usually use them anyway, so it's like nothing of value lost type of thing. But as you can see, now I have a lingering menu that's also still taking up space that has nothing in it. But if linear advance is turned on, we'll see it in there. So I think I'm just going to reorganize these menus. Like, I don't know why we need to have stuff in like so many sub menus. Like, what is this? So there's one menu, 2, 3, 4 levels, and then you would have your linear advance settings, your load and unload. Why does this need to be like 4 menus deep? Like, I don't get it. So, yeah, if everybody could stop asking me about when a certain printer is going to have firmware out, I don't know is the answer every single time. Every single time. Because I am literally the only person here that does firmware. So if it will be done when it's done, and we prioritize the more popular machines over the ones that aren't that popular. So, you know, you could always do it yourself and send us code, and we could clean it up. If you wanted to get started on it, there's nothing stopping you from that. The source code's available. But people could stop asking when X printer would be ready. It's ready when it's ready is the answer. So, and that printer is such a pain in the ass too. Our ribbon cables are going out on it too. I'm almost tempted to just not do anything further with it, because it's honestly not that great of a printer. The Sidewinder, it's such a pain. The hot end fails the heat half the time because of the damn ribbon cables, and I don't know how. I don't know if I'm just going to direct solder them. I could try that, or if I'm just going to buy a new one. So, oh, we've already been going for over an hour here. No one's used the call in, but chat's been going pretty good. It's the most Gandalf answer ever. I wish I understood that. How about this? Every time someone asks for a certain printer, it gets put to the bottom of the list every time. How about that? Would that get people to stop asking about printers? Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into getting them supported. While it may seem simple to you, there's a lot of back-end work. And part of the thing that's holding up certain printers getting supported is making things fit on these 8-bit boards, because a lot of these printers are 8-bit boards. So the fact that this is like 95% done is a very good indicator that we'll be moving forward quicker on getting not only the ones our Unified 1 support done, but also other machines that use 8-bit boards. Because I'm at this weird junction where we're trying to get everything over onto over to Unified 2 from Unified 1, because Unified 1 is based on Marlin 1 and it's not being developed anymore. So I don't want to put any more time into into Unified 1 because it's not being developed anymore. So, but to get the older machines into Unified 2, there's a lot of work on the back end that needs to happen before that can happen. So, but once one machine's done, it makes the other ones a lot easier. So it's still a non-zero amount of work that's required, but there's a lot of other stuff that has to happen. Like, I wasn't even sure that I'd be able to fit everything onto these 1284Ps. Like, this is like 30 plus hours of work just to get working what you see here with all the extra features. That's it. I'm not sure what you mean, Scoob Man. For HP printer. Throw it in the fire. Who buys HP printers anymore? Their ink is so expensive. I have a couple inkjets here, mostly laser. But I have all Brother printers. They've actually treated me well. I know a lot of people don't like Brother, but I've had pretty good luck with them. And their support too, surprisingly. They're a cheaper printer. They're a cheaper 2D printer company, and they have decent support. All right, so it's already 3:15. Let's before I jump off here, I'm gonna give you guys a little bonus thing here. I just need to let me see if I can make a copy of this here. Can I do this? I am working on something right now, so give me 1 second here. So, if you guys want to take 5% off your order, you can use this code here till the end of October, no restrictions, to take 5% off your TH3D order. Right there. That code right there. And let's do a giveaway. Hopefully someone will get that reference. Hey, there we go. Forgot about the stream delay. If you missed it, here it is again. 5% off any TH3D order through the end of October. No restrictions. Easy boards, power supplies, hot ends, cables, whatever. 5% off. No restrictions. There you go. Enjoy. Any progress with the chocolate printer? I mean, I got it working. I mean, there's really not much more to say. I'm trying to log into Nightbot to do the giveaway thing, but it's not like loading. Oh, it's nightbot.tv. That would be why. We're not doing anything for Virtual Earth because I don't really see the value in it. I'm not a fan of these like virtual maker things. It seems forced. Like, it's cool that they're doing it, but it seems very forced. And it kind of defeats the purpose of the events. The events are to go to meet people and like get your hands on stuff, and it's just not the same. It sucks. All right. Let's see. So, who wants it? What do we think? Easy ABL kit or a tough extruder? What do we want to give away? Easy ABL kit or tough extruder? And while we're at it with the tough extruder, we'll do a tough extruder and a hot end. How's that? What do we want? So tough extruder and a hot end or an easy ABL kit? What are we going to give away? Yeah, extruder with our hot end. Oh, let's see. Easy ABL, easy ABL. Well, let's see. Can make a tutorial for newbies to go from STL files straight to the G code. Okay. I can sit. Hold on to your panties. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, ready? Okay, take your STL file. You go like that. And you go like that. And then you put this file on your SD card. There we go. There we go. It's that easy. You need to be more specific than that. I'm not really sure. I mean, that's if your slicer's set up, it's that simple. Drop it in, hit slice, put the file on your printer, or print over USB. Let me see. Okay, hang on. I'm taking all the comments here. I'm gonna paste them into a notepad file and see what one, either easy ABL or tough extruder. All right, hang on. I'm pulling them up. Oh, wait. Let's see. Almost done here. I'm just totaling them up. Swear to God if this is a tie. Alright, let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 for the ABL. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the tough extruder. Okay, tough extruder it is. Y'all win. Alright. Let's see here. Have I ever had S3D lose settings? No, I always back up mine too. I save my factory file. All right, so let's see. What am I gonna have the keyword be? The keyword B will be, okay. If you want to enter, type evil socks into the chat and you'll be entered to win the tough extruder with our tough hot end package. The only restriction is if we can't ship it to your country, because there are certain countries we don't ship to because we can't or we've had too many issues. But I assume most of the people watching are probably not in those countries. So type evil socks, all one word. Evil socks, all one word. There you go. Scuba Man got it. Nope, no space. No space, just evil socks. No space. Evil socks. One word. And for those of you guys that don't win, remember, use code SOCKPUPPET1020 for 5% off. 1020 is the month and the year the code is good through. You guys are wondering why there was 1020 on there. SOCKPUPPET1020. All right, I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds here. And then we're gonna roll it. Just double checking to make sure that that code actually works. I set that up earlier. It's actually Sock Puppet, but I will make it, or Sock Puppets. But I just make another one, the same thing, except Puppet, so I don't have to edit the video. Can't stack the coupons anyways, so doesn't matter. All right, Sock Puppet 1020. also works. Sock Puppets 1020 also works too. And you can't stack them. No stacking of coupons. We're not, what is it, Kohl's? I don't know. All right. Let's see here. You guys ready? Ready? And rolling. Let's see. Daryl Watts, you won the giveaway. Well, this will be easy. This answers your question too. You can email streams@th3dstudio.com. There you go. Streams. I believe it. I don't think it's stream. Yeah, it's streams with an S. There you go. Congratulations, man. You got some parts. All right. So let's do one more. Let me reset everybody's eligibility here. So yeah, streams@th3dstudio.com. Send me, I'll have your email because you emailed me. Send me your phone number and your address and we'll get it sent out to you. Let's do one more. So this will be fun because I love seeing chat go nuts. You guys got 1 minute, okay, to guess a number between 0 and 500. Go. Let's see. There we go. This will be for an easy ABL kit. Let's see. I love doing these. I'm just waiting any second now. Chat's just gonna start going. Oh, Butrim, you're so basic. Let me see. I got my clock going, so it's 3:27 on the dot right now. We're gonna go until 3:30. Till 3:30. So 3 minutes. Let's see here. So how you guys doing? Just sitting here typing numbers. You guys a fan of numbers? Look at all these numbers going by. A lot of numbers. Still haven't got a winner yet. Is someone getting it? Still waiting. While you're waiting, if you want 5% off your TH3 order, you can enter the code SOCKPUPPET1020 in at checkout, and you'll get 5% off your order. Valid through the end of October. No one got it yet. I'm really surprised no one got it yet. Nightbot picked the number. This is great. Oh god. I'm trying to hit show. No one's guessed it yet. This is way more amusing than I thought it was going to be. I should have done between 1 and 100. I don't know why this is so amusing. It picked a good number. Oh, I've seen some people that got close. Let's see. Oh, I've seen some people getting close. I'll give you a hint. It's got 2 digits. Oh! Modified 3D got it. Modified got it. And now we're gonna have like 30 more seconds of people typing numbers into the chat. Yeah, wait for chat to cool down. Oh, he's still typing. He got it though. Nightbot got it. Oh god, I'm seeing YouTube dropping frames. Are we back? We're probably back now. I don't know. Did the stream screw up? Why are people still typing? No. No, it was 71. It was 71. So same thing. Modified 3D, shoot an email to streams@th3dstudio.com with your phone number and your address, and we will get that kit sent out to you. I hope you guys enjoy the freebies. So on that note, it's now 3:30. Yeah, it was 71. I said that. I thought I said that. Yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna get back to working on firmware here, so I can get some love out to the 8-bit ports. What are your guys' thoughts on the menu organization that I was going over? What do you guys think? I just want to get people's feedback on that. Do you guys like the idea of kind of getting rid of the stuff that no one uses, to make it simpler and easier to navigate?